Hey there, I am so glad you're here. Come on in and enjoy Coffee Chat at the Cubby Hole. Okay, you might be thinking, coffee sounds fun, but girl, what is the Cubby Hole? The Cubby Hole was a divine little nudge on my heart, if you will, to build this space in our basement, in our home, where our friends and family could come and receive encouragement and love. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I've always known that the Cubby Hole would have a ripple effect out into the world, that it could bring encouragement and hope, not just to people that could visit here in person. That is exactly why I do coffee chats. I get to take some of the coolest people that are just like you and just like me, who have skill and talent, but most importantly, they have a vulnerable, relatable story that we can all glean some hope and encouragement from. So grab a coffee, cozy up, and enjoy Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. Well, hey everybody, happy Friday. I hope you all are doing well and that this beautiful day finds you doing well. You know what, you guys, I am so honored to be able to do Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. This morning, I just felt this overwhelming sense, because sometimes you have to slow down and just look at all that's going on in your life. And I was getting ready this morning and I just felt this whoosh of gratitude, because we have so much in our lives to be grateful for. And sometimes we miss it, or we're so busy going. And I just thought, I am so grateful for so many things in my life. And one of them is this space to be able to do Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole, for the Cubby Hole. Because you know what? I have so many beautiful people on the show, and I get to share them with so many beautiful people like all of you. And what is so incredibly powerful for me is that God makes these connections, and I have the opportunity to bring people on for Coffee Chat. But then when I get to sit back and watch the connections that happen offline, the people that I've been able to bring to you, that then you've been able to connect with, and they have just fed some little part of your soul that needed it, whether it was relatability or laughter or whatever it was, that I just get to sit back and watch all that goes on behind the scenes and offline, that once I do the show, I'm out of it. I have really nothing to do with it then. It's all of you making these beautiful connections, and it warms my heart. So I am so thankful, and I am so thankful not only to all my guests, but to all of you for your love and your support and your willingness to just take it in and hear and receive. So anyway, today, oh my gosh, I am so excited to have my special guest, Anita Renfroe. You guys, she is, you know her from her comedy tours. She is just so funny. What I love about Anita is that she adds a little bit of, there's like a little bit of element of sass to her shows, because what she does is she takes all things female and shines a light on all the things that we go through. And that just, it's just so fun. Isn't it fun to just see somebody taking all the things that we go through as women and shining this light and giving us this hilarious perspective to hang on to, because life is funny, and all the things that we go through and experience, well, they sure do make us laugh sometimes. Sometimes they make us cry, sometimes they make us laugh. So not only have you seen Anita on her comedy tours, but you've probably seen her as a correspondent on the Good Morning America, Fox and Friends, maybe on Sirius XM, on the Oprah channel, Dr.Phil, which I gotta say, my 14-year-old just thought was the coolest. She's the biggest Dr.Phil fan. So before I bring Anita in to chat with all of us and have some coffee, let me just share with you a clip that shows just a couple of highlights of her awesomeness.
Here we go. Get your hands together. All the wrinkle ladies. Cause I like it, but I should've put some cream on it. Can't hide it with a glove of Vaseline on it. Maybe next time I'll think before I eat. Yeah. Someday I'll be digging through my piles to find things, and all you're ever gonna be is clean. While
you gotta be so clean.
The comedian out there she's got millions of YouTube hits on this tiny bit of tape. She was able to condense down 18 years of what a mother says to a child in exactly 2 minutes, okay? You might know her. Her name's Anita Renfroe.
When you chew, we'd appreciate. Take a bite, maybe chew up the stuff you hate. Use your fork, do not burp, or I'll set you straight. Eat the food. I put it on your plate. Good egg.
We have a mom who was the #1 watch clip on the internet.
I absolutely love this woman.
Joining us tonight, author and comedian Anita Renfroe.
That's author and comedian Anita Renfroe with her salute to the underwire.
Because they have no big old white cotton granny panties anywhere. What they do have is an assortment of underpants that women my age and older do not understand at all. You know what I'm talking about. What are they? Anybody here remember when we used to wear those on our feet? Remember that? And they weren't that comfortable down there. I don't know how. Who is the brilliant person who said, hey, let's move those up north and see how they feel up there?
Anita Renfroe joins us live in the studio.
And our favorite comedian, Anita Renfroe. You remember when she did all those momisms?
With a comedian named Anita Renfroe. Take a listen.
But I can see a little bit of maybe like one advantage if you're going to have a baby after 50. And that is if you chose to nurse. You could lay that baby in your lap. You can either be skinny and wrinkly, or you can have a piece of pie and fluff those babies out. Sit you in that room where you have to wait for the doctor. He'll be in just a minute. Lie. And while you're laying there on that vinyl table with the paper cover, and you're waiting and you're sweating. So by the time that the doctor gets in there, you are good and stuck to that table. But the first thing he says to you, now, Ms. Renfroe, if you could just scoot down. I'm thinking, hey, Sparky, I'm not sure aware that you've got a little stool with wheels on it. How about you just roll on up here?
Oh my, I'm sitting here, my face already hurts because I love so many things I love about Anita. One of the things that I love so much is that if we are thinking it as women, she is bold enough to go on and talk about it. Those clips are so hilarious. What a great way to start a morning and have some coffee. So let me bring her in. I don't want to wait anymore. Hey girl. Hi, how are you? How are you?
I'm in the middle of so much chaos. I'm going to turn this around where it looks like less chaos. Hold on.
I love your glasses.
Okay, so let's just, in the vein of authenticity, first of all, let me start out by apologizing to your viewers who were expecting a 10 o'clock arrival, but don't understand how comedians' scattered minds work. Okay, so let me just explain, because your viewers need to know, because they know you are punctual, you are businesslike, you are together, and as you can see, not one stitch of mascara. Like this is the eyes that make me look like I might have the COVID, but I don't. Okay, so that's why the big glasses are going to help this morning. But when Marlo asked me to do this, I for sure thought it was a nighttime thing. Comics are nighttime animals. I'm like, wait, we're going to have a coffee chat at night. That's going to keep me up till 1 or 2 in the morning with the caffeine. And so I'm sure that you, Marlo, did the start time in at least 12 messages. And
that was the first, I kept going through, and I was breaking out in a little sweat, but then I realized it's like menopause. I've been sweating all morning.
Right. I am so sorry.
With me just to keep them like under my shirt because I'm already. But I was like, oh my gosh, did I say Eastern Standard? Because that's a thing.
You did nothing wrong. I am the idiot. See, this is why I always make people go through my assistant, because not only does she catalog the correct time, but then she sends me 9 messages, 9 hours. She would have started at 3 a.m.
Oh
and
my God.
Don't forget, put on some makeup at 9:30. You have a thing at 10. Don't forget. And then she'd be like, do you remember? Do you have the link? Do you want me to test the link for you? She's a wonderful assistant, and she does. This is why I have one. But you know
what?
Because we went straight through because we're friends. And you're like, hey, you want to be on my show? I'm like, yes, of course I do.
10:30 at night or 10 on a Friday. It'll be great. It'll be, yeah. Oh my
10
God.
p.m. My mind read 10 p.m. And in fact, I was supposed to go to visit some friends at a conference tonight. I'm like, I can't go. I can't see you. I got to do this thing online.
Oh.
I already told them no, so it'll be a big surprise when I show up. So,
hey, surprise! I'm here.
Anyway, I totally apologize for this very transparent version of myself. 0 makeup, sad COVID eyes, except I don't have it. It just looks like I might.
Oh, thank you so much, but not necessary, because that's what the coffee chat is all about, is just the relatability of everyday life. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, if we haven't all been in a situation like this, then we're lying. This is
real, y'all. This is all real. If you can't tell, I mean, like the other thing that really, look at that bra strap hanging out.
This is why you have audiences everywhere, because you're willing to say it the way it is. And I love that. Everybody loves that about you. So.
Well, you know what? For the first 35 years of my life, all that thing did was get me in a lot of trouble.
That's so funny. As a pastor's wife too.
Right. And so my inability to edit between my brain and my mouth was a liability for my husband's career, it seemed. But I could play the piano, so they couldn't fire us because he was wonderful and I had a skill set they definitely needed. So it's like, play the piano, can't control our mouth. Which way? So I would say I was very verbally, I won't say frustrated because I could edit a little bit, but I knew that there was something that God hardwired this for, and not just to get me in trouble all the time, because I just say whatever it is mostly. So then about 35, when I was inching closer to 40, people kept telling me I was really funny. And I was the last on the train to believe them, because I thought everybody thought weird thoughts like this, that this was not remarkable. So, do you see that shoe rack behind me?
I love it. Look at the relatability. My press-on nail just
came off, unpressed.
Sitting here, just moving, just pressing my fingers in it.
Oh, that's the shoe rack.
As the show goes on, the glue's gonna come off, and all the.
Right, you're gonna be just like me at the end. Like no eyelashes, everything's going. Okay, so
you know what? I just found one of my fake ones like laying on my face. I was like, God, you know what? God's showing me He wants this to be nothing but real.
Hilarious. Well, it'll be fun to watch. So
you come from a faith-based background, which is interesting. You were trying to you didn't want to deny that you were funny. But
it wasn't highly valued in my faith culture.
Right.
We were very rules-based. If anybody knows anything about independent fundamental Baptist, there's a lot of things that you can do wrong just waking up in the morning, pretty much. Hello, world. Wait, I've sinned already. Okay. So it wasn't really highly valued. But then again, I got a great Bible background. Like, I do not despise any part of it, except all the time I wasted not really appreciating grace. Because it was very rules-based and fear-based. And sometimes that little vestigial tail of legalism will just pop back out, it's hard to deprogram all that once you find out that it's really all, Jesus did it all, not my righteousness at all. So I was a little bit late to that concept. I mean, I knew it was in the Bible, but we didn't base behavior on that, that it's kindness that leads us to repentance. That verse, I think they had maybe taken the black highlighter too. I don't know. It was not really emphasized at all. So no, so I didn't know that A, I was funny, but B, I didn't know that God could use it. So that was, I would say, a huge midlife surprise. Around 35 people, I would be doing music at women's conferences and people would be like, "You're really funny." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Then they say, "Next year, come back and do more funny stuff." I'm like, I didn't know I was doing funny stuff. I was just talking, right? So it was a very slow burn evolution. I was still raising my kids. So it wouldn't have done for me to be trotting around the country doing concerts. So I really didn't get into the traveling part of it, which I used to complain about. And now I would just love to get on the airplane and go somewhere and talk for fun and profit. Anyway. So,
you will be again. You will be again.
Eventually. Yeah. I told my husband the first time I have a show, it's going to be 2.5 hours, nonstop, no intermission. I've just got so much saved up.
You're like, you guys can come and go, but I need to talk.
Everybody just get snacks, come back. We'll see you. Yeah. I feel
so much material.
I feel comedy constipated. Like I just want to.
Oh my gosh. That is such a good term. I know so many comedians that we've said it, but that's exactly.
You feel all stocked up with comedy. I've got so much I want to talk about and know where to.
You will.
I'm doing a taping next week in Nashville for a thing that's going to be online. And I'm just like, oh, how can I control myself? Because there's a couple other people on the thing with me. And I'm like, but I want all the 90 minutes. I have anyway, it'll be great. But I haven't been doing I feel like I am in and this is not saying anything about this because I'm excited, but my only outlet has been podcast and live cast appearances. I feel like I'm the delightful podcast guest. Like that's this part of my life. It is.
It's been everybody.
Except I'm terrible at it because I forgot that it was daytime and not nighttime. So
better. It couldn't have worked out any better. I am so curious. I love talking, with all my friends. I love especially hearing from comedians who we are all just ready to get back out there and do our thing and speakers. But I want to know, I want to know what you've been doing during the, other than, completely moving from one state to another.
Oh yeah. You mean relocation in the middle of a pandemic? It's what a choice is that? I don't know. We had purchased some property in the place where I grew up in my hometown. My mom's people are all from here. So about 14 years ago, we bought 23 acres out here, knowing that at some point we would end up, I hate to say like your retirement home, which sounds like assisted living, but the one you're going to die in. There's just no good way to say what this house is. It's
your next move.
It's the last move before heaven, as far as we know.
You never know. You could have
the Lord has a way of surprising us all the time. So when I say that, I say it with complete tongue in cheek because God has always surprised us. We feel like we've lived our entire life just, hanging on to the belt loop of God's pants, just on for the ride. So we found ourselves, we were in Atlanta, Georgia for 21 years, and all of our adult children lived within 10 miles of us, very close. And so one by one, they so rudely moved away. They didn't even ask for our input. They didn't care. It wasn't so much that they moved. They took the grandbabies, and that was just tragic.
That's unacceptable.
That's criminal.
All your kids are great, but those grandbabies, that's a different story.
This is actionable behavior. So they one by one moved away, and all of a sudden we found ourselves 3 years ago in a zip code with none of our people. So we're like, wait a minute. So we have been building this house. We've been working at a church in Wichita where some of our grandbabies are for the last 2 years. My husband is still there on staff while I'm trying to get this chaos to tamp down. I don't know what else to call it. So a bunch of our stuff have been in storage for a couple of years, and it's just, I don't know what I did wrong, but I have been trying to figure out which part of all of that stuff goes into this part of our life. Yeah. And my decider is worn out. Of deciding is this part of the next part of our life or not? And there's so many memories, and my husband is incredibly sentimental.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't ask him anything. He would keep everything. Every shred of paper, is meaningful to him. He's very sentimental. And I am some sentimental, but I like layers of things. I like leather and typewriters and, other people would call it junk, old suitcases. These things make me very happy. So we both have incredible emotional problems.
And you just combine them together and
it makes for a barn full of things that I have to go through and decide what's what. So
the joy in it is there's going to be comedy about this.
Oh, so much. Oh, so much. The deal, and you know this, Marlo, all you have to do to craft relatable, good, solid, universal comedy is just take notes.
Yep.
You just take notes on your life. And you know what? If you're feeling it, probably 76% of the audience can find that feeling and tack into it. And I would a billion times rather get agreement than somebody going, oh, she's so smart. She's so clever. I'm like, no. I just need you to agree in your spirit that you have experienced something like this, because that's the part that I think is beautiful about comedy is it brings us together. I think, if you look at the nation right now, just in general, it's just so fractious and disturbing and divided. And when we come in a room together and we laugh about things, I think a lot of the walls break down and we realize our differences aren't that deep. They're just maybe half-inch deep.
Right.
When you get down to our humanity, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that I value more and more about what we get to do is to bring that reminder back. That there is joy, that it comes in cycles and waves. And the Bible says joy comes in the morning. Well, that means there's probably going to be a part of the day of your life where you don't feel it, but it's going to whip back around. And comedy reminds us that it's accessible, that it is our destiny to be joyful, and that there are things to laugh at even in the middle of the craziest of times or circumstances. We can still find that nugget of joy and visit it, and then visit it more often, and then hang on to it, and then reclaim it. And so I love that comedy tends to do all that in certain segments of whoever's listening's lives.
I find that that's so true. So true. And we all have the gifts that we bring and that we were born with. And I think it was Tabitha Brown. I just heard her talking about all that's going on. And she was equating it to building a home, and that some people, build the foundation, some people do the lights, but everybody has their own job. And that's how I feel. I feel like, and probably same for you, it's our chance to speak out, to do the funny, to do the relatable, to just bring that part of the home building, and to use the gifts organically that God gave us.
Yes, for sure. And so many of us discount them,
Yeah.
We think that what we bring to the table isn't as valuable, as, a Bible teacher or an incredible chef where their art is just obvious, or a doctor, we're like, oh, their job is very important. But what we don't realize is we're all links in the chain. And if you don't stand in your spot, the chain feels janky and broken, and we don't see it in the huge picture, in the macro, where God sees how the design fits together. So it's really important that we not only tune into what is our gifting in the world, but then make sure not to discount it, denigrate it, or fail to use it. So that's everybody. That's everybody.
I mean, that is so good.
And can I say this is also why suicide is, I understand the pain that must cause the decision to end a life. Mm-hmm. It's tragic in the personal, and it's tragic in the macro, because that means that person's spot is empty. And my husband is a care pastor, and I can say for sure, without a doubt, that he has had so many more care calls of people considering suicide.
Right.
so many more funerals of people who've actually carried it out. And it is tragic on so many levels. And I think not the least of which is their link is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get to see what their life could have been, you know, had they stuck it, stayed with their gift, and found their place. It's very, very tragic. And I pray for those who have that sort of inclination in their emotions in this hard time. People keep saying unprecedented. I mean, that's kind of true. If you think about it, I was thinking about this the other day. Every moment is unprecedented because we've never lived it before.
Right.
The Indians have a saying, you can never step in the same river twice,
Mm-hmm.
because the river moves and changes, and life is like that too. So the unprecedented, everybody's like, oh, I wish we could lose that word. I'm like, for sure, because it's all unprecedented. It's just, it feels more crisis than we've had in our adult lifetimes.
Right.
But I would just really say to those who have suicidal thoughts or tendencies, I don't even know why I never talk about this. So that's
what this is about, is letting this authentically, organically go where it's supposed to go. And this is perfect.
I just really want to shout out to those and say, don't lose hope.
Yeah.
Don't lose hope. If there's just one thing if there's one reason to stay alive another day, find it and fixate on it. And then ask the Lord to show you the next reason to stay on the planet and to find out what the rest of the story is. I mean, maybe it's just curiosity. Maybe you don't find a reason right now, but are you curious enough to stay and try to figure it out? Anyway, I just really want to pray for those people who are thinking about it, because you know what? That is not God's will for your life. Mm-hmm. He has come to give you life, and strong life, abundant life, like big life, not just life like I'm alive, my heart is beating, but life with a purpose. And I pray those people will just be curious enough to stay around another day.
I would love it. Would you mind we'll just take a pause and praying for them?
Oh, absolutely. Lord Jesus, we don't even know who this is for. Mm-hmm. But Lord, you do. Somebody's tuning in, and God, I pray that if it's not them, if it's someone in their household, Lord, I pray, or in their sphere of influence, that you would miraculously reach out to them right now, Lord, and give them hope. Give them just an inkling, a thread. Lord, we know you don't have to, move mountains, but just, move a plug, do something, Lord, where they can see a reason to stay hopeful for one more day. Lord, I pray that you, by your Spirit, you would wrap them in your arms of love, and Lord, reveal to them what their link is in this chain, so that they may serve you with purpose and joy for the rest of their lives. In Jesus' name we pray, believing. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. I anybody that knows me knows I am all about what I call God sprinkles. And while I'm loving now that we were delayed this morning, because I had my Bible with me. I always have it here with me on these chats. And I said, you know what, while I'm waiting, I was listening to a song that I'm going to post in the comments. It's called The Goodness of God. And I'll put the link in there. But I said, I'm going to do that. It's called the Lucky Dip, where you just open your Bible and see what God has for you. And I
love that, because
I love it. I opened up to Habakkuk. That is where I landed, and my Bible is still open. And I went, because there was years ago, you guys, where my husband can attest to this. I woke up and I had the ugly cry, where the stuff's coming out of your nose, and I had a adversity in my life that I was then getting angry, like why God? And I was mad at God, and and David was like, you just exfoliate your heart, babe. Just get it all out. And the next morning I was giving up on God. The next morning I said, okay, God, I was like all running, and I said, I'm going to try this again. And I opened up my Bible and flipped it open, and it opened to Habakkuk. And I'm like, Habakkuk? I don't even know.
Habakkuk, right?
What the Habakkuk? I didn't even know what it meant. And so I said, okay, I'm going to trust you. So I started reading it. And luckily my Bible, I need some guardrails. It has where it explains to you what they're trying to say.
I like it.
I was crying all over again, because it was about how, evil won't prosper. The things in our life that we're questioning, why God has a plan, and all of that ultimately will not prosper. and God's love and truth will. So this is so incredible, Anita, this time with you, because God has it all orchestrated. Every single.
I know. I wasn't even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about moving to a new state.
I love it. And I love to talk about things. I love all audiences, but I love especially honing in on women and the relatability and what you're talking about. First of all, I love what you're talking about. And I want to just reemphasize what Anita just said, you guys, that we all are born with a purpose. That is my platform. That's what God's put on my heart, to awaken women's inner purpose, peace, and their beauty. And with regard to purpose, we all have a purpose. And one of the first questions I wanted to talk to you today about that I know women will relate with is comparing yourself. That is such an evil monster. And what we were just talking about is, I know I compare myself all the time. Why don't I know all the statistics? Why am I not a math person? Why don't I make lunches like other moms?
Why don't I know what time the podcast starts?
And it's like, why isn't that my gift? There are gifts. I have gifts, and I love to focus on those. But that evilness will crawl in your head in the middle of the night when God has called you to do something and say, no, you don't see. You may be funny, but you don't know A, B, and C. So I would love for you to just share with women in the audience. Did that monster get you? How did you combat it? What'd you do?
Right. Well, first of all, I would like to say I see comparison as the original sin. I don't see the original sin. I see mankind is happening in the Garden of Eden, but original sin was Satan in the heavenlies.
Right.
Lucifer was a beautiful angel.
Right.
And he had amazing properties that were observable. Like he was more beautiful, more wonderful, more than the other angels. So there were even like tiers in heaven of beauty and whatever. So that wasn't enough for him. He looked at God and said, I'm lacking. I want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me is original sin, when Satan decided he wanted to be more, that it wasn't enough. Whatever he was being the brightest among the angels, being first amongst his created beings wasn't enough. He fell, kicked out of heaven, took a third of the angels with him, because whenever somebody falls, they never fall alone, right? When there's a failure in a marriage or a family or whatever, you never fall alone.
Mm-hmm.
So a third of the angels with him. And so what did he do to Eve in the garden?
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, surely God didn't mean that you couldn't be like him. Don't you want to be something more
mm-hmm.
than you've been created to be? God knows the moment you eat of this fruit, you'll be like him, knowing good and evil. And you don't want to be dumb. You don't want to be naive. You don't want to be the last person on the train. And the comparison got her. She's like, yeah, that makes good sense. Surely I want to be wiser. I don't want to be stupid. I don't want to be off. I don't want to be the last one.
So good.
And so she took the bait. And we've been taking the bait ever since,
mm-hmm.
which is however I'm made is not enough. Surely there's something more that I could be. And it keeps us in crazy town emotionally, because we can never get off of the comparison hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Paul, really addressed it when he was telling us to keep our eyes
mm-hmm.
on Jesus, the beginner and the perfecter, the start and the finish of everything that we have in our faith life.
Mm-hmm.
And if only there were not social media.
Mm-hmm.
You could blame it on social media, but look, what did Eve have, right? She had a perfect scenario in the garden, right? No mirrors, no mother-in-law, no Twitter, no highlight reel from other people's vacations,
I have to tell Sharon, my mother-in-law, I'm laughing at the mirror part.
Right.
I know.
I'm just saying she didn't have the forces we have now that we keep blaming our unhappiness and our discontent.
Yeah.
And yet in that perfect place, in perfect communion with God, she found a reason to compare and look at herself lacking.
Yeah.
So yes, it is universal. There is no one that's immune to it. If you only have 2 friends, not even social media, you will find yourself just lining up, stacking up. Where do I fall in the giftings and the abilities and the beauty and we're always going to find the part where we're lacking.
Mm-hmm.
They say it's part of our survival skills as a species that we're always looking for the thing that's out of place or wrong so that we can defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But man, do we focus on it and obsess about it. And I would just say there's no one that doesn't struggle with comparison. They may not struggle as hard, meaning I'm wondering if they're just not as aware.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I saw a meme the other day. It said something about live your life like a duck, where you look like you're just going along smoothly, but under the water you're paddling like crazy. We're all paddling. We're all everybody. And so if anybody's hope that they look like they're flailing, like it's
right.
It's just
right. Nobody's going to show that voluntarily. I do appreciate. I would say the last 15 years that I've observed, there is a higher value on authenticity. And I do appreciate that because I feel like less people are hiding. But on the other side, I feel like everybody's sharing everything that maybe should go in the journal instead of
like an overshare element now.
It's like we're all authentic, but man, keep some of your stuff for yourself, right? Some of those thoughts go down on a piece of paper before the Lord, right? Not all out there for everybody's business. But I'm just saying, it is good to admit that we struggle with it, but it's also good to continue to find ways for either God to deliver us, which I believe he can, if we can, but he's not going to deliver us and then we never struggle with it again. You need daily deliverance from the tendency to compare and find yourself I'm trying to figure out where the sin is in it, right? I don't know if you have eyes that you couldn't figure out that somebody's better at something than you, right?
Right.
But the sin, I believe, is in wishing you were something else.
Yeah.
And that is a constant discipline in our mind to check those thoughts and bring them under the authority, under submission to godly thoughts, which is to concentrate on whatever is true and noble and good and praiseworthy, right? Mm-hmm. And these things are not about us. They're in the character of God. Right. So I guess the other part of the problem with it is that we are self-focused. When we're comparing, we're still thinking about ourselves instead of others. So it's a good discipline to celebrate other people's successes, accomplishments, giftings. That takes us into another space of gratitude for where they are in the link in the chain.
Right.
And then to continue to get better at what it is that we do. Mm-hmm. So I don't know the answer, but I do know a tool.
Yeah.
Just to celebrate others and to use your own gifts.
When you were starting out in comedy, because you made a shift, you were doing worship, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, they want me to do more funny stuff. And then you had to, I'm sure, go through that process, unless you were just naturally gifted with the knowing how to write comedy. And then
now there is where you add diligence to the gifting. I think the Lord gives us all gifts, and sometimes other people have to call them out in us for us to even realize what they are.
Right.
But then it really is your job to go and find out how to be better, how to bring your best offering. Like God gives you this, and then you do what you can to bring it back to him through diligence. And a lot of people are just, let's be honest, lazy. Like they don't want to put the diligence. They just want the gift to appear and I magically serve the Lord and I'm amazing at it or whatever. That's not the way it works. The Lord puts seeds of things in you, and it's your job to tend that little garden and plow, plant, and weed. So I was naturally funny, but I had to go back and figure out what is the craft of comedy. Right. I had no idea. So I went to the CCA, which is Christian Comedy Association, and met other comics. And then they turned me on to books from people that were professional writers.
Right.
Comedy. So I had to find a way to replicate the original. Like I didn't know the tools to make it happen again and again and again. Like I knew how to do it once because it was just intuitive.
Right.
But
the natural wit.
Right. But you have to add diligence. And that's every gifting. I don't know a single gifting that doesn't come with the gift sort of unassembled, like
that's a good way to say it. Like an IKEA.
Oh man, is it an IKEA? It's like so many parts, and then like a lot of the things, it's just a picture of the thing, not an actual written instruction, or sometimes it's written instructions with no picture. And so you're like, oh my gosh, I have 4 pieces left over. Let me go back and reassemble. But I think we're given the gift, but we're not given all the outgrowth of it. It's not. I don't see it ever as a completed work. It's a completed work in the heavenlies, but unless we're willing to put diligence in, I don't know how that ever gets developed. So any discipline, it doesn't matter. Cooking, music, art, it doesn't matter. You will have natural abilities that God hardwired in your DNA. And then we get the privilege to work it out. I think work is a gift. It's not, we think of it as part of the curse. Yeah. They were in the garden. They were just hanging out. But before that, all that sin thing happened with Eve, before that thing, they still had jobs, which was name the animals, right? Do something about all of this, right? God gave them the garden, and then it was like, oh, this is your playground. Do something with this, right? So when God hands us something, it's like, do something with this. Don't just sit on it and wonder why the phone's not ringing. I know, well, it's COVID. That's why the phone's not ringing.
Well, now we know.
Now we know. But we have the divine impetus within us to do the work. And I think there's much joy in that. It's not just a puritanical work ethic, like we just have to earn our spot. It's more about the joy in figuring it out. And I don't know why. I don't know why a lot of people don't want to do that, but they're missing out on the journey.
Yeah, a lot of it's as a coach, that when I put that hat on, what I see a lot is just fear and doubt. People think because a lot of comedians, for example, they're going across the water. It looks so smooth. They don't realize all the treading that they had to do underneath. And so I know I fell into that. Like, why am I just not? It's not naturally working at first.
Right.
I know I've been making people laugh since I was 8, but why when I get on stage I'm filled with nerves? Because you have to learn.
Right.
Like you said, you have to have that diligence to stick it.
Yes. And the diligence, I believe, I almost think of it like labor and delivery.
Yes.
Even if you have a C-section or whatever. What do you go through for a baby to come out of the tiny spot that it comes out of? Is how you earn the idea that I can be this child's mother. All during pregnancy, you're very pregnant and you're so excited and all that. But man, labor and delivery is the part where you just earn it. And I feel like you can't skip it. You can't skip the part. If it's let's say it's a cesarean, you still have the pain afterwards trying to heal up. Or if it's an adoption, you have a billion pieces of paper and a lot of expense. But that's how you earn that feeling of I am this kid's parent, you know? And I think the gifting sometimes is like that. You got to earn, like you say, you're talking about the fear and the doubt. It's because you haven't done the work to earn the thing, right? And I started out this conversation about grace-based things. I understand that the gift itself is the grace, but you got to, when you step into that spot, no matter what that spot is, if you have not done your diligence, you're going to feel like a fraud. You're going to feel like a fraud anyway, even if you've done your diligence. You're like, man, these people are stupid. Why are they laughing at everything I say? You're like, don't they see that I'm not that good? Everybody feels that.
Imposter syndrome. That's like, there's not 15 other things that'll stop you in your tracks by, to go and fulfill that purpose you were called to do. Imposter syndrome. I hope every woman hears this.
Yes.
Everybody experiences it. It's one of those treading things under the water. Everybody's living it.
Right. Because we see the, behind the scenes footage, and we know how we feel about what we've added or not added. And then all of a sudden it's out there for the world to adjudicate its value. So even if it's working, we are hardwired to doubt the outcome. It's just, it is psycho land up in our heads. It really is. But you really do need to put in your labor, put in your diligence. So when you stand up, even if that imposter syndrome flares up in the back of your mind, you can go, shut up. I worked hard for this.
That's true.
Shut up. Be quiet. Shut up, brain. I have a sign over here somewhere that says, "Dear brain, please shut up."
I need that.
Our self-sabotage is.
We need to just sit on that for a second. Like, my brain, just please shut up. Women, we need to hear that. We need to not only hear it, but let it just absorb into every cell in our body to just just enough.
I'll tell you why. Because if we can never say that we excel at anything, self-talk in women's minds.
It's my hot button. You're talking my hot button. My whole everything is about, just the limited self-talk. And we can absolutely live in that and believe that all of our actions are based on that. And then there's the regret and the anger. And then even, like you said, maybe even some people going through suicidal thoughts because they're just had it with all of it. Trying to figure it out.
For sure. And I wish we had a switch. I wish women came with a switch, like just right here, like a button in the back of the brain. When we get into the negative self-talk or the doubting or any of that we could just flip a switch and become a man for a minute. I feel like they have 0.1% of our ability in negative because they think they're great. I don't.
Watching, babe, you out there? He'll watch the replay.
Yeah, they do. They don't. And that's why they can lay their head on the pillow and just immediately go to bed, go to sleep in peace. And we lay there and we replay the day and we think of all the things we didn't do. And we think of all the failure and we wonder about the future. We're just living behind and in front, and guys are just like, I'm awesome. Good night.
It's funny. And I feel like women, we're wearing so many different hats. And that's what I know I go through in my life. I'm trying to build businesses. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to be a mom. I'm trying to get it right. I'm trying to keep things organized. All these plates were spinning. And you can easily say, oh my gosh, it's easy to find. I mean, when we want to find the failure, we find what we're looking for. So we have to put
that's the evidence syndrome, right? My mind is looking for evidence of this thing that I believe. Yeah, and I love that sign that says, just because you think it doesn't mean it's true.
It's true. That is true. That is that we will believe what we search for. And so we can put on a different set of lenses.
Right.
Search from some other things.
Sorry, just 1 second. I have to tell you how blessed I was that you played that promo package rolling in today.
Yeah.
Because because of COVID, I haven't worked since March, of course. And it's not that, I didn't come to comedy till I was almost 40. So it wasn't like my identity was really steeped in it, in a part that was formative in my life. Mm-hmm. So like I was in obscurity and I was a pastor's wife almost the same amount of time that I've been a comic, right? So my husband had been married 38 years. And so there were like 20 years before comedy and 20 years since comedy, right? So other than, trying to finish building a house where I was really leaning heavy on that spring income, just let's get real.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah.
That was like a hard thing. But I have to say, since I've been out here on the farm, like literally I get out, like I plant little buffalo grass seed. I rake up the top. I have topsoil brought in on dump trucks.
Mm-hmm. I never have enough topsoil. That's
never have enough, right?
My life.
So I plant some little buffalo grass. I go out there every morning. I water. I try to, kill scorpions and unpack Starbucks cups from 20 years of on the road and try to figure out why I thought that was a good idea. So it's been very, like everybody during COVID, it's been very hidden, very not public, and it's been very good to remember that my life won't always be the way, none of our lives will always be the way they were. Mm-hmm. But when you played that package just a few minutes ago, I was like, wait a minute, I had a career. Oh. There was good stuff. Oh my goodness. Because you forget in the middle. That's what I'm saying. For people that are losing hope in the middle of this thing that doesn't feel right or real, or it's too bizarre. Mm-hmm. We need to remember the good things. And, the Bible tells us to just rehearse the goodness of God and never forget and continually remind ourselves, because it's easy to forget. Yeah. So it blessed me that you played that this morning. Thank you. I'm like, wait, I used to get dressed and wear makeup.
Yeah. And it's going to happen again.
I used to stand up in glittery tops. What?
And you've done so many incredible things. I mean, it's so inspiring, for you as a mom to say that you didn't start until you were 40. It's important to me.
I am the poster child for late bloomers. Please.
And I love that. And there's several of you that same thing, same thing where you started later. And that's really, really encouraging to me, because that's one of the comparison game things. Well, for me, there's a lot of comedians that have been doing this for so long. And, I do have we have 6 kids. 2 of the youngest are still here. And it's busy. And I keep saying, I want to go out and do more and more and more. And I know that season's going to happen. So for any women that are feeling that, it's
for sure.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. And that's not true.
The problem is we don't get to be the decider on what and when.
Right.
There were 2 or 3 things that I had done before the mom song that I for sure was like, this is going to
talk about that. We got to talk about the mom song.
This thing is going to be the thing. And I was like, so sure. And it wasn't. And then I did the mom song, and for sure I had 0 confidence in that thing.
So good.
Going anywhere. And it ended up being the thing. But I would just like to, give that you don't know what God's gonna, I hate to use like a ghosted term, but blow on. Like the Lord is gonna, give wings to something. What our job is to show up and do good, authentic work, and just believe that if He's given us that seed of faith about the platform or the level or the influence, that you just keep believing that you've heard from Him and there is something. But here's the other thing I would say about that. I don't know if in God's economy, me being kind to the checkout girl at Walgreens who's having an absolutely horrible day and cannot make the register do what it's supposed to do, or maybe she's just incompetent. I don't know. But my job is to represent the kingdom well, always, every day, no matter where and what. And I don't know if in God's way of looking at the world, which is not the way we look at the world, that my kindness to her is not more important than anything I've done on a stage. I don't know. That's why we can't discount. It's, the Bible says, never despise small beginnings or small things. Little is much when God is in it. We get all the right clues that the kingdom is upside down. So everything that was in that package that you played that encouraged me just now may not matter squat to God. It may matter that I, gave my kids breakfast reliably for their childhoods. It may matter that I led a children's choir when I was 25. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know what God's scale is, right? And so I want to encourage people that are in obscurity to continue to serve Him and to be kind and be a good steward of your humanity.
Yes, yes, because if we're on a big stage, it doesn't matter if we're not responsible with the little moments that God gives.
No. And I think that the Lord does, and, it rains on the just and the unjust. Unjust people will get the mic too, right? So you can't judge it by that either. You have to be like, this person is a horrible individual in their personal life, and look how God is using them. It's like, girl, just be faithful in your lane.
Yes.
Where God's put you in obscurity or in a large platform for whatever point. But once again, we don't know God's scale. Right. So God may be way more pleased with you in obscurity than you on a huge platform. We don't know what his purposes are. And you have to know that everything is a season and it's never going to stay the way it is. I mean, time moves one direction.
Yeah.
So
good. Oh, that is so good. And I'm just praying that that this is blessing so many. I know it is. It's blessing so many hearts out there, women. The things we put ourselves through. This is relatability that is priceless. One of the things I wanted to ask you did involve being a mom and being on a stage. So take us to just for a second. How did you? Okay, so now your career was rolling and you're doing your thing, and now you're on all these national platforms. You're warming audiences' hearts everywhere. So then how did you go from moments where you had this roaring standing ovation to then like the kids put, you come home and the kids, first of all, if they loaded the dishwasher, it's like there's stuff everywhere or nobody's going to, everybody's, it's Momville and you had years. How did you do it?
I did have a secret weapon, and I'm going to give all props to my mom. My stepdad died of cancer, pancreatic cancer, when he was 58, and she was 58 also. Very young widow.
Sorry.
I'm 58 now, so I'm like, am I 58? Is that right?
You don't look.
I am 58
at all. 58.
Well, you know what? Imagine if I had concealer on. Anyway, my mom, because she was a young widow, she lived with us, and so as God would provide, I had a way to leave my kids without 1,000 lists and fear that they would die in my absence. My mom made sure that they were fed and they had clean underwear. And my husband, who was serving full-time for part of that time on church staff, took care of the discipline and the love in my absence. And I have to say, when my kids were younger, I wasn't traveling that much. So it was after the last one was already up in upper grade, 4th, 5th grade, whatever. Before I started, I was out much more. So I had the rare privilege of getting to do the sequential thing where you get to raise your kids and then do more of the outside of the house stuff. So I can't really speak to how other people can do it, because I had the secret sauce of my mom living with us, which was such a blessing for both of us. My mom was not alone and didn't have to restructure her life or buy or sell a house or anything.
Right.
And I got to leave more freely, knowing that my children were well cared for in my absence. So I didn't have the inner struggle a lot of women do about that. Yeah. Therefore, when I came home, there wasn't a lot of Momville other than dealing with things that happened in my absence.
Yeah. What just happened? Oh, well,
yeah.
Good.
Right. So I wish I had more wisdom on that. I do not.
No, such a blessing. You know what? Listen, can we just talk for a second? We've got to talk about the mom song. Have to. But can we just talk for a second about one of the most important things? I mean, you say so many important, awesome things, but one of my favorites is this, that y'all, leggings ain't pants.
Oh my gosh.
Can we just talk? And I want to know, this is one of the pressing questions on my brain with all your career and all the things going on. What I really want to know is, have you changed your mind on that during the pandemic?
I'll tell you what I have not changed my mind about is whether people cover their hoo-hoos when they're wearing them.
Oh, I almost spit. It says gulp. I almost choked. I wish this coffee would have just come straight on my.
That would have been a spit take for sure. I'm just saying.
The biggest PSA. I don't mind leggings, but for me, I'm going to speak for myself. Wear a shirt that goes a little low, like.
I don't want to see where the good Lord split you, right? I just
a lot of information.
I don't want to view your gynecological apparatus. I don't. And I don't think your buns are of steel the way you think they are. They're kind of wobbling in the breeze. That is my, like, literally, if you get down to it, in the bridge of the song, Those Ain't Pants, I say, you know, do they cover your hoo-hoo, right? And to me, that is the definition of whether you're wearing them in a good way or bad way. And even if you have an incredibly great body, it's like, I don't really want to know about all of it. Please stop doing that to me in my eyesight. I don't know if culturally we can put the toothpaste back in the tube ever. I think leggings are everything to everyone. And like I said, I don't mind them. I just don't want to look. I don't want to look at that. Just, like,
right? It's just a lot.
They have the fanny wraps that you can put around, right? And tie them. And those seem to really help. Like, it just comes around like a sweatshirt, and then the sleeves dangle in front of the part I'm not really interested in seeing. And, just use just a little sense.
I guess for me, maybe I notice so much because it makes me feel so uncomfortable if I don't have a shirt on that's longer. I've had 3 sections. There's a lot that I hide under a tank top.
Right. Yeah, I really don't. I don't feel that I am confident enough to ever do that. Like, if I went to a yoga class and everyone was wearing them with shorter shirts, I would still be the one with a tunic.
Oh my gosh.
No.
One of the funny things that again, got to talk about the mom song, but one of the other funny things that you talk about are ripped. Oh yeah, I'm partial. I don't have my full. I actually had a uniform during quarantine. Literally, I would wash it, but it was my ripped jeans, my black tank top, and my white Nike hat. And I thought of you all the time when I wore those ripped jeans, because you talk about how when you get to a certain age, you look down at the open part and you're like, it's like, it shows your age. And for the longest time, I didn't see that. And then one day I was driving and I looked down, I could have crashed my car because I was like, no, you didn't, scaly skin. When did that happen? Like,
oh, I know. You look down and you're like, whose skin is this? Sometimes I'm holding on to the steering wheel and I look and I see all these crinkly things and the age spots, and I'm like, whose hands are attached to
I know. I actually convinced myself for a minute. I actually convinced myself that I accidentally spilled some Elmer's glue and it had dried.
Oh, that must be it. Certainly.
That must be it. I was trying to think, how did that happen? Who spilled glue on me? Must have been during my daughter's slime phase where she was making slime. Total denial. So now I just wear, if you see me wearing, purple tights under my ripped jeans, that's why. No,
that's like it's a fashion statement. Let's own it as a fashion statement.
Oh, you are one of the things among many that you're so well known for is undeniably the mom song. I mean, how many hits on YouTube did that ultimately end up getting?
We have no idea, because in the beginning, this was like before YouTube was a channel. It was just a website, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning, people were taking it and copying it and putting it on their YouTube pages, instead of linking back to mine, they would just put it on theirs. And so we probably put out like 100 cease and desist things. And all of those had thousands of hits. So we so stupidly, we wanted it to link back to our stuff. We were trying to be we thought we knew what we were doing. But, all that to say, there's no way to ever know, because we took down millions of hits with people that I don't even care.
Millions for sure. But, it's so good. You guys, I know you had to have seen her mom song, and I'll put it in the comments. I'll link it. But Anita took all of motherhood and you distilled it down into 2 millions of brilliance to William Tell's the overture.
Yeah.
And I'll post it. You just guys have to go look at it. But it was just so brilliant. And then you followed it up later in some concerts with some dadisms.
Yeah. The dads are much shorter. It's like ask your mom to die. Right.
It was so good. So I'll put that in the comments. And that is just, I mean, was that the big break?
It was the part that moved me, I would say. I mean, and don't take this the wrong way, like from the Christian ghetto or the Christian subculture into mainstream, right? Because it was on Good Morning America, and then, you know, I had a sitcom pilot with ABC, and the New York Times did a big story, and blah, blah, blah. So it put me on the radar for a minute. You know, everybody's got like 15 minutes. Well, it was more like 7, 8 minutes. But it was great because I got a lot of opportunities in commercial work and stuff like that I would have never had otherwise, that I don't know how anybody would have ever known. So
good.
It was a wonderful opportunity to, you know, fold into the mainstream culture for a little while, you know, and have some great opportunities. But, you know, I tell people it took 22 years because you know, to live it, and 2 hours to make it rhyme, you know. So
yeah.
It was a blip. It was for a specific project called Mom Sense, and I just wanted a song that embodied the mom experience. And so I tried to make it as fast as possible because that's how moms take on the day. We charge, right? So that was it. My kids were the ones who told me to put it on YouTube. I don't know that it would have ever occurred to me.
They know. Like my director is a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
I need to go where the knowledge is. And she, by the way, is the one mind blown that you're on Dr.Phil. She loves.
Oh, really?
I'm like, can we watch it?
Robin McGraw was on Women of Faith at the time, and she saw me do it, and that's how I got on Dr.Phil.
I love her. I read her book. She's so good.
But yeah, that was great. Very thankful. It was wonderful. You know, like I said before, you never know what the thing that God's going to use to widen the platform or to broaden it for a time for his purposes. And once again, I try not to get tied to the outcome. I try to just do the work and continue to steward the gift, I hope, faithfully that he gave me. And then I'm like, Lord, you know what the outcome, you know my days and seasons, you know your purposes. So I think that's another thing where that might tamp down some of the comparison too, is if you're not tied to the outcome.
Yes.
If you
let God take care of that.
The journey.
Yes, let God take care of that. There's so much that he takes care of that we I quit trying to worry about it. You know, I was just mentioning my 14-year-old, and when she watched the mom song, and this is something I'd love for you to chat about for a second, because there's a lot of new comedians that watch this. And which my daughter said to me is, how did she memorize all that?
I can make you feel so much better about that.
I work on that. I love Michael Jr. Talked to all of us once at CCA about how sometimes he does, you know, he might use notes because he wants to be in the moment. And that's my biggest thing on stage is I want to be in the moment. But what do you do as a comedian to memorize?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, because it was a taping. It was a videotaping for a DVD project back when people had those.
They're coasters now. That's what they are. Christmas tree.
I wrote it and kept honing on it in the 2 weeks prior to the taping. So I didn't have a lot of time to really nail it. So I had a teleprompter on the balcony. So if you watch it now, knowing that I had a teleprompter on the balcony, you can watch me side sweep my eyes across to get and it only had the first 2 words of every line on it. The first 2 words.
Help that to me. All I need, I wish I had my set sheet in front of me. I have 1 word.
Yeah.
Sometimes all I need is 1 word.
I gotta get started. Like I know
the whole bit, but sometimes it's transition.
Like, remind me where I'm going, right? So I have a roadmap of the first 2 words of every line.
That's okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
On the thing. because I still didn't know it. Of course, now I could do it backwards in my sleep under anesthesia, because the ruts are so tight in there from having done it. But that night we did it 4 times. The thing where you see people stand up and applaud was the first time I got through it. So we kept that response because it was the first time they'd heard it, right?
Yeah, so good.
Every time I did, of the 4 times we captured it, I blew a different line. So there were 4 sets of blown lines in the 4 times, but they were never the same set. So we were able to piece in the correct line.
That's so good.
On the ones that I blew. So I remember maybe 2 months after we recorded it, I started doing it at Women of Faith, and I had to have it on the prompter, the same 2 words for every line, for another month and a half, maybe 2 months of performing it before I felt confident with the pattern of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, after that, it was very ingrained.
Right.
But I am not opposed to helping yourself.
Oh, thank you for that truth. I am learning more and more.
I would rather do well than pretend I know it.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Every night after I get on stage for a couple of minutes, I throw down a big 4x6 card. They used to be 3x5 cards, but I'm old now. So a 4x6 card with my roadmap for the night. So I can remember what I intended to do. That doesn't mean I do it. It means I just can remember where I wanted to go before this started.
Mm-hmm.
We call them the suggested set list because I never end up doing exactly what's on that piece of paper, but at least I had a plan, right? At one point, I had a plan. And then the Lord or Satan, we don't know who gets in the middle of it and interrupts the plan. But that way, if I wander off track, I can go back and figure out where I wanted to go, right? Mm-hmm. And that gives me great confidence that I'm never truly lost on the stage. And sometimes I'm getting to the age where I will ask people on the front row, what was I talking about before this? And they laugh. They think it's part of the show. And I'm like, no. I definitely forgot what I was talking about.
And it's relatable. And I love that. And the more and more that I do and the years that go by, I'm finding that it's just the relatability. And I'm with you. I would rather do a really good job and be real. Thank you so much for that behind the scenes truth. That blesses me too, because I've been adopting that mindset, and it's just, awesome. When we I went and saw you, and my other friend Sean Reynolds was opening for you. Love Sean. You walked out on stage, and what's that?
I said he's great. I love him so much.
I love it. His wife is actually going to be joining me on Coffee Chat. I think it's next.
Awesome.
But anyway, you had a what is it? A big not a billboard. The
whiteboard.
Thank you. Yes, you had a man in the front row. You walked out with, I think it was your ukulele, and you.
Yeah, because I just learned this song for the thing. And I was like, I don't know this. Here, hold this for me.
The things that you're saying bless hearts, but the way that you do it, all of these things are blessing hearts because people just know that.
It's so great to just embrace our humanity and not sit in pride about it. I think people are like, man, I need notes at work too, to get through meetings and stuff. So I feel like that is one of the gifts of aging, is to really feel at home in your body and to no longer give a rip about what people think about it. I want people to like it. I really want you to like me, that'd be great if we could be friends too. But at the same time, I'm like, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not a problem anymore to me personally. If there's somebody on the third row that isn't really enjoying it, I'm like, I don't know what went on in your life today. I don't know. Maybe you came in after you got fired and you really don't feel like laughing. Maybe you have no sense of humor and somebody drug you to the show. I don't know. But it's more important that I feel that I've done the best with what God gave me this night in this room. That's all I can steward is the present moment. And I just want to do the best I can.
I want to say thank you to everybody that's on here. Okay, for some reason, talk about technical difficulties. I don't know. It's just saying Facebook user. So there's some people that I can't see your name. There's somebody I can see her name, and I want to put her comment up here. But right now, I just want to put this one up. I don't know who it was. So when you guys write a comment, just write your name in there so I can see what it is. But it says, I was 42. Then I first went to CCA, and 43 before I got on the stage. Praise God for encouraging women and stories like this. or I wouldn't have found the courage. Yes, I love CCA. I just referred another woman to CCA the other day because it's such a great place to go to find your tribe. I know you've had your tribe. I've heard you talk before about your connection with Patsy Claremont and Jan. Is it Silvis?
Silvius.
Silvius, yeah. And isn't it so important for women to find their tribe of women?
Oh, you have to. We were never meant to do this life solo.
Yeah.
And you can't always just depend on your primary, your husband, your kids, your primary relationships always to fill. I mean, you need friends, people that didn't grow up in your household, who have a different perspective, who can bring truth to your life in a caring, loving way, and call you on your stuff, and can encourage you when no one else really understands the journey. It's worth the investment to find good friends and then hold on. Be intentional about nourishing that relationship, and then also being free to let them move on when their life changes and the amount of contact is not possible anymore. Right. And sometimes the Lord gives us signals that it's now time to reach back and mentor somebody. If you don't have the same friendship set of people, you can now put more attention on a different kind of relationship. And those are incredibly fulfilling as well. Yeah. So as long as we're continuing to reach out, I mean, I know in the time of quarantine, we've had to change the way we do that, but the Lord really delights in us being with each other and supporting each other.
Yeah, for sure. You couldn't have described, when you're talking about the friendship, you couldn't have described better. I was just saying, there was somebody I wanted to mention here, but you just described perfectly my sisterhood friendship with Kay Dodd, who just commented on what we were talking about the having the roadmap.
Sure.
Free, but Kay Dodd was
wonderful. Yeah. And you talk about somebody transparent with their life story, and God really uses it. Every time she gets on stage, she's, dead on killer funny, but she's able to share her journey. And I know people are set free and delivered and helped every time she's on stage too. So thank God that comedy can be a tool to plow the ground and open hearts, so that when you put the seed in the truth, I say the truth, but all my comedy is the truth. I don't make anything up, but when you want to sow a spiritual seed, the comedy has plowed the ground well, so that people are really able to receive it, I think, in a different way than from a pastor or teacher, because you've just established a root of intimacy due to our lives being similar, that sometimes a pastor doesn't have time. I mean, for pastors, it's a long-term relationship, Sunday after Sunday, week after week. For us, we get an hour to establish the ability to tell the truth and for it to matter in people's lives. So Kay did that in a wonderful way.
So yes, she's incredible, and her story is so relatable. And if it weren't for Kay, she just took such a chance on me, her and Lisa Mills and so many other people from CCA, to just they saw something in me that I didn't see. I wasn't willing to.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
Isn't it great when people can call the gifts out in you, because you once again either doubt or, it's hard to believe that it's remarkable. And yet other people can speak into that very successfully.
I thank God for them all of the time, because Kay with comedy and Lisa with comedy and speaking, and it was just filled with doubt. And they were like, no, I had named it and claimed it, but I didn't have everything else to go with it. I was like, I'm taking a chance here, and they took a chance on me. The person that mentioned CCA about being there at 42 was June Colson, who, I don't know if you've met her yet, but I've watched her starting at CCA, completely scared to death, starting out, finding her tribe of women. And she just recently won the Clean Comedy Challenge with Leslie Townsend. So we're so proud of June.
Good for her.
Her courage. A couple more things I'd love to chat about before we go. I just got to know real quick, have you ever had, and I'm feeling like the answer is no to this question because you're just so authentic and real, but I'm wondering if you ever had just an incredibly embarrassing situation on stage, or have you ever just cracked up laughing at something that happened at one of your shows because of the audience? Or
all the time. I live an incredibly embarrassing life. It's not just on stage.
And you're not scared to be real about it on stage. So
I always try to. I tell you what, I feel that things that happen in the moment at a show are the gift.
Yeah.
It's like, and I guess maybe that comes with confidence, being a performer, being on stage and not feeling like the room's going to get away from you. Right. But I feel that if something weird, strange, or odd or embarrassing doesn't happen at a show, I'm like, boring. We didn't really have you want to have a night that people can walk away and say, this will never happen again. This was right. And so I don't fear those at all. I'm anticipating them. And I always ask the Lord, if there's someone that I'm interacting with in the audience, I do pray this with all sincerity. Please don't let it be a shy person for whom this is going to damage them, or it's going to wreck their week, or it's going to make them embarrassed for months and they're going to replay it in their head and it's going to be a bad experience. I ask the Lord to give me extrovert, exhibitionist people, to make fun of. Lord, just give me someone that this is not going to hurt them, that it's going to be fun for them. And so I'm always praying that that's the truth. And I feel like people that sit in the first 3 rows are kind of asking for it. You know? Like, if you're a very embarrassed person, you shouldn't be in the first row.
Sit right in the
So I do sorry, I'm getting choked up. I feel like, where's my coffee when I need it? I feel like when I get a hold of one of those people, if I can see that they're truly dying inside, I try to move away very quickly. So I just never want comedy to hurt anybody. I don't feel it should ever be used as a weapon or for my enjoyment, right? I do enjoy doing it, but not at the expense of someone else. So I always ask the Lord to help me realize if it's a introvert and I'm hurting them by talking to them. But I always ask the Lord to give us something unusual and fun that could only have ever happened in that room with those people every night. I love that. And I think other comics, younger comics that haven't had as much stage time, would be completely mortified by that possibility. And I am thoroughly jazzed and hoping for it, So, yes, all the time. Embarrassing things for me all the time. I always have some sort of wardrobe fail on the regular, not like the Janet Jackson, but I'm just saying
something, I know it's, and you know what?
Out, not tucked in, one leg hiked up, caught on the boots. I don't know.
I've gone back and watched so many, tapes. I'm aging myself by saying tapes, but just it's like, I didn't know. I didn't know that was going on with my outfit, or that's a
right.
Was like in
real life. This is Walmart after midnight. It's just on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I have loved every single second of this. I want to know, do you have anything coming up yet? I know there's some things that are starting to stir. Do you have anything coming up, or do you want there? I know you collaborate with a lot of organizations. Anything
Jan and I are doing a live thing. I want to say the first or second week of October. But since we weren't able to gather for a lot of the conferences that have been rescheduled for the spring, we wanted to give people that were really jonesing for that experience. So we're gonna.
I was talking over you, I think, at the moment. So who did you say you're doing that with?
Oh, Patsy Claremont and Jan Sylvia, my friends. Yeah. So you can go to Porch Pals Presents and get information about that. I don't think the information will be up for another couple of weeks, but it'll be on my page, my Facebook page. And probably Instagram also. I don't really tend to Twitter anymore. That's turned to a weed garden for me.
I've never done it. Here's your website. I have your website up there, which
there's always information there, and there's links to the social media things from there. But if you can spell my name, you can get to any of my social media. And I try not to wear people out. If things just strike me as crazy or funny, I post maybe. I'm not like a daily poster. I post like once every week or two, so I won't wear you out. If it comes across your feed, I think you'll know that I took time to decide whether it was something you would care about or not. So you won't get everything I had for lunch on Tuesday. You'll just
Get
get
a photo of it. Oh gosh. I realized the technical little blip here is your name is not capitalized, and I apologize for that. I want to honor all my guests. I realized it pulled it from your website name, but anyway.
It's all right. It's all right. This is real life. This is how real life happens. All is thanks for having me on, even with no makeup. After my bras are. It's just.
Do you know how many women are watching right now that are they're everybody's adjusting their bra strap? I mean that.
Listen. The other thing, when you played that package when we started, I was like, what a hard left hook it's going to be when my picture actually comes up.
Not true, because you know what? One of the things I've been saying in promoting our chat today is that you are relatable and you're beautiful. I love it. You know, my 15-year-old has been walking around with less makeup on and just beautiful. I mean, people.
If I were only 15 and I felt
you don't look 58. You have how many grandchildren?
7 grandkids. 7. Yes, and I just want to tell everybody out there, just get some big old reading glasses and see what kind of sins they hide. They're wonderful.
I'm on it. I
love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Anita. You have blessed hearts. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your gifts, your talents with us, your relatability, the rawness. The PSA about leggings. We're changed human beings because of this coffee chat. So
I live to serve.
Well, thank you, girl. Thank you so much. And I know you're probably going to go back to unpacking boxes. So enjoy.
Watering little buffalo grass seed sprout.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And everybody check out Anita and look for her next concert tour because she does not disappoint. Okay. I'll see you, girl. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody. Okay. Well, we'll see you. Gosh, I am so excited. I have such a great lineup coming in for September. So it's going to be such a great September. Look for the announcements. I just am so thankful that Anita was able to join us. So thank you. Thank you, Anita. And we will see you in the month of September for some awesome, beautiful soul individuals that are going to warm our hearts even more. So thank you, Anita. Thank you to all of you for joining. And